I think I will just speak from the table here. I'm Glenn Paulson, the moderator and instigator for this particular session on challenges for data sharing. I'd like to make a couple of points in my role as moderator before I introduce the panelists. Very early in my career, a mentor of mine told me when giving a public speech I should use the following trajectory. Start by viewing with alarm and finish by pointing with pride. On this topic, I can only get as far as the first step, viewing with alarm. In terms of the several points that have been made earlier, the request from John Holdren for a public access data and publications plan, I was responsible for developing EPA's plan, which was submitted to OSTP some few months ago. We only recently got our comments back from OSTP and OMB, so we'll be revising our plan. I think the other federal agencies are in the same place. I want to stress that in that request from Holdren, he specifically said all agencies should develop such plans based on no new resources. That is, no money, no people to develop such a plan. Jerry Blancato, who's one of the key architects of EPA's draft plan, is here today and will be speaking in the closing session. You might have some questions for him on that. Regarding the informed consent issue that came up this morning, Linda Birnbaum mentioned this. There is a brand new working group on modernizing the common rule. That's its official name. It had its first meeting last Friday. I am EPA's representative on that group because EPA's Human Subjects Research Officer reports to me. Regarding peer review, which came up briefly, my office is responsible for revising EPA's peer review handbook. I'm due to get a brand new draft of the next edition any day now. It will cover some aspects of what was discussed this morning. And then finally, until very recently, I was the acting scientific integrity officer for EPA. We now have an individual who's in that position full-time. Fortunately, she was the recipient of the recent letter from Senator Vitter charging us violations of the scientific integrity policy on one of Senator Vitter's main concerns. And then finally, I serve as one of the 3 voting members on the EPA board that deals with data quality challenges. We have had only one such challenge in the 2 years that I've been with EPA. I anticipate more. With that, I'd like to give brief introductions for our panelists today. And then I don't know if you all want to speak from the podium or from the table here. It's up to you. Daniel Barth Jones, Assistant Professor of Clinical Epidemiology at the Columbia Mailman School of Public Health, is an infectious disease epidemiologist who specializes in computer simulation of the transmission and public health control of HIV and other infectious disease epidemics. John Howard, Director of NIOSH, served in this capacity from July 2002 to July 2008 and was reappointed to the position in September of 2009. Before that, he was Chief of the Division of Occupational Safety and Health in the California Department of Industrial Relations. Greg Bond, an adjunct professor in the Department of Environmental Health at the University of Michigan School of Public Health, is on loan from Dow Chemical to implement the university's Sustainability Fellows Program, which is funded by Dow. Prior to this academic foray, he served as Corporate Director for Product Responsibility at Dow. And finally, Kevin Casey, Associate Vice President for Public Affairs and Communications at Harvard, oversees representations on Harvard's behalf to the state of Massachusetts in regulatory and legislative matters. He specializes in legislative and regulatory issues relating to basic research, intellectual property, and technology transfer. Dan?
Thank you.
As a reminder to the panelists, there will be a signal put up when you have 2 and then 1 minute left in your allotted time.
So it's